So I guess the risks of not having enterprise content managed correctly can obviously be significant. And I'll start by saying as well that practical and compliant content management can be a bit of a tricky business problem to solve. It's multidisciplinary, as was mentioned. There's varied organizational requirements. And I think that the M365 modern tech stack, it's clearly all about empowering the end user. And I think we've all typically seen sort of the problems in legacy systems and the like when that's been the case. What we do at Information Leadership, and as I touched on in the intro, we've been helping organizations deliver compliant content management for about 20 years. We really walk through a framework, and I have 5 key themes that you can take away today that we see as fundamental building blocks for deploying an effective and compliant content management system. So the first one is really to, I guess, take stock and discover and really define and appropriately share the assets that you have and the security compliance classifications that your organization needs to consider. The second point there is honing in on a classification that's persistent, it supports your information management and your compliance assets, but also empowers your end users. Following that, that's where you need to take a step up, I guess, from simply throwing tech at the problems. You need to have considered and standardized designs that have compliance actually baked into them. The fourth theme is all about the risk reduction. How can you implement a model, and I've got a model and a way of thinking that you can use to categorize and, I guess, shift the dial in terms of your risk footprint. And last but certainly not least, we'll talk about how you support your people, ultimately creating a movement of information protection awareness that uses best of breed collaboration tools. So managing compliance assets effectively. So I think the first thing I'd note is that we work with a lot of organizations where they don't even know. They don't understand, they don't really have a good grasp of what their compliance requirements are. Other organizations have invested a lot of effort into actually prescribing it. They've written some amazing policies, but they haven't really shared it widely, or it's not really known within the organization. So what I'd suggest for those organizations, if you're one in that camp, it can never be shared enough. So refresh it, perhaps, maybe meld in some new advice about generative AI or possibly about new privacy legislation, and really push it out and make sure that it's available and transparent to those inside your organization. We often talk about the nirvana of having, protecting and securing information a key organizational value. And as Andrew mentioned as well, we are all custodians of information management inside of our own organizations. With those compliance assets in place, then you need to understand the SITs, the sensitive information types. You need to align those to your security classifications and requirements, and then really start to think about when those information types are at risk, or the KRS, the key risk scenarios in which they could actually be exposed, or maybe you have an information breach. So I'll walk you through what that process actually looks like when we're engaging with an organization. Firstly, what we'd do is just start to break down the information types you have. So here's a quick sort of starter for 10. You can see that we're starting to think about the different types of content that we're actually creating. And we're starting to, I guess, group them into these categories that you see on screen. Another thing that organizations that they create, and this one is particularly tricky because security classifications vary wildly between the different legislations, different verticals, different states, different countries. So what you need to do is really come up with a security classification which is simple, easy to understand, and it makes sense as well for end users. So if you look at the narratives there, we need the decision to be easy, straightforward, and known by the users who would be selecting it. Finally, what you could do here is you could then classify those information types into those categories. And what you'll do is you'll work towards creating governance plans for these key risk scenarios.